Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome to our second portion of the virtual wetland experience through the Water Passport program. That's right, this video does follow a previous one, so if you haven't watched that one, it's where we talk about why wetlands are so important and why they're so awesome. So go ahead and go watch that one first. There should be a link provided right now for you to click on. Make sure to watch that video first because it follows up to this one. Welcome back to the laboratory. Hopefully now we have all seen the part 1 video, so we are all on the same page and are all wetland experts so that we can begin our activity right now. So our activity for today is going to be a little experiment where we try to determine the quality of water from different wetlands. There are multiple methods to determine the health of a water body. Today, right from your computers, we are going to be doing one of the more fun ways. We're going to do what's called biotic indexing. Bio is Greek for life, so biotic is pertaining to life. Indexing is making a list or a record of something. So we're going to be recording the life of MNP's wetlands. First, we need to collect some specimens. This is often done using dip nets, which are plunged into the plants and muck in the pond. This is where a lot of invertebrates like to hide. MNP staff and volunteers have gone out and collected some aquatic invertebrates for you. Invertebrates are animals who lack a spine or backbone. You'll notice that all the animals we are looking for on your sheet are invertebrates. Worms, leeches, and larvae have no bones, and insects have what's called an exoskeleton, meaning their skeleton or body frame is on the outside. Our specimens have now been divided up into our two simulated wetlands, Wetlands A and B. But how are these animals going to tell us the quality of the water they're in? Well, as we know, not all animals are the same in shape, size, and lifestyle. But they also react to pollutants differently too. Some species are tough and can handle lots of pollution. We describe these ones as hardy or tolerant. These can include animals like leeches, sow-bugs, and midge larvae, which are able to survive in puddles, ditches, and ponds near industry. On the other end, some species can't handle any pollution and need very clean water to survive. These species are known as sensitive. Mayflies, fairy shrimp, and caddisfly larvae need pristine water in order to survive. And then you have a whole bunch of critters in between who can handle more or less levels of pollution. Before you are two sample containers that simulate two different wetlands. Using your biotic indexing sheet, your goal is to determine the water quality for both samples based on what species are present in them. Keep track of how many species are sensitive, semi-sensitive, semi-tolerant, and tolerant. Count each species you see as one, circling it. Now, I don't expect everyone to be a professional bug identifier right off the bat, but maybe there are some on here that you do recognize. As we go through, you will have the chance to take an educated guess before the identity of each species is revealed. Now, how that's going to play out is, as each specimen is brought on screen, there's going to be an opportunity for you to pause the video. When a section like that appears, that's your cue to pause the video and try to figure out and make an educated guess what the specimen in front of you is before it is revealed. So let's go look at some pond critters. We'll start with Wetland A. Here's our first specimen. Take a look at your sheet and take a guess of what this might be. If you guessed dragonfly nymph, you're correct. Dragonflies, like lots of insects, actually begin their life living underwater. Some for as long as a couple years, before emerging and living for only a few weeks as the more familiar but fast-flying hunters of the sky. Dragonflies are awesome because they eat mosquitoes both in the water and in the air, keeping their populations in check. Take a close look at this specimen before deciding what it is. This one can be a little bit tricky. Although this may look like a water scorpion, it's actually a giant water bug. The name can be deceiving for this particular species, as it's only the size of a thumbnail. However, it shares the ponds with a much bigger species. Giant water bugs are the most impressive aquatic insect we have stalking the ponds at MNP. They tackle prey equal to and even bigger than themselves, such as fish, tadpoles, frogs, and other invertebrates. Here's another large insect. Which does this one look like? As you can see, this one is pretty good at swimming. That's because it's a diving beetle. These coleopterans are expert aquatic predators, both as adults and juveniles. Their younger selves are such voracious predators that they've earned their own nickname of water tigers. This one is more than likely an easier specimen to identify, but pay attention to which kind it may be. If you guessed orb snail, you are correct. These snails enjoy scraping and eating algae off of substrates throughout the pond. Pay close attention to how this insect swims before trying to ID it. Does its movement give you any hints? This is a back swimmer, a true bug and predator. All true bugs are insects, but not all insects are bugs. They have some differences that make them unique, but bugs still meet the qualifications to be included in the class Insecta. It can often be confused with its relative, the water boatman, who swims right side up and is an herbivore, meaning it only feeds off of plants. Here's our last critter from Wetland A. Any thoughts on who this might be? Here's a hint. They also enjoy eating mosquitoes and are a close relative to dragonflies. This wiggly thing here is a damselfly nymph. They're in the same order as dragonflies. Damselflies may be smaller and gentler flyers than dragonflies, but they're still lethal hunters of small flies, mosquitoes, and moths. So that's all the animals that were in Wetland A, and what I'm going to do now is show you how to score your water sample. All the math will be done right down here. It's real simple. It can all fit in this area. The numbers that I will be using are not the ones that reflect what you just did, so you still have to do the math on your own. And make sure to pay attention to how I do this, because I'm only going to do it once. Unless you rewinded the video, I guess then you'd be able to see me do it twice. First, put the number of species you counted from each category in the E side. Add the sum at the bottom. Next, multiply each for the F side and add their sum. Take the two numbers you made and divide F from E. Simple. Whatever number you have now is the score of the water you tested. 3.6 and up is excellent quality water, while something like 2.0 and below is less than ideal water quality. Now that we've determined the water quality for Wetland A, it's time for us to do the same with Wetland B. Up first, we have another gifted swimmer. This specimen looks kind of similar to the one we saw in Wetland A. This is a beetle, and it sure does look similar to a diving beetle. but it is actually a water scavenger beetle. Scavengers play the very important role of cleanup crew. They help break apart dead animals much faster than bacteria alone could. This speeds up the recycling of nutrients back into the ecosystem. A good way to differentiate scavenger beetles from diving beetles is how they swim. Diving beetles kick with both legs at the same time, while scavengers alternate with their back legs. Here's another invertebrate, but this one lacks both legs or an exoskeleton. Some of you may know these from their not-so-nice habit of sucking the blood of other animals. If you guessed leech, you are correct. Don't write these creatures off as bad though. Although not the most pleasant of animals, they still serve an important ecological function as food for other animals and even for some human medical practices. Look very close, as this tiny red critter is specimen 3. Is there anything on your sheet that matches this animal's shape and color? This appears to be a red midge larva. Though it looks like a worm, it will actually grow up to be a fly. If it lives that long, that is. Midges are an important food source for many animals, both in the water and out. And as you can see, this damselfly nymph is looking pretty interested in it already. Lastly, let's add another orb snail to this simulation as well. And with that, tally up your critters for Wetland B and give it a score. Now that you've scored both of our simulated wetlands, which one ended up having better water quality? Compare your results with your classmates to see if you got the same answer. Biotic indexing is an important method of determining a water body's health. It paints a picture of water quality over a longer stretch of time. Checking the water chemistry requires more than one test, since it fluctuates over time. But macroinvertebrates can show us the overall quality of water, but it can't tell us what's wrong. If we find that a water body is lacking sensitive species, we'll need to dive in for more testing. Thanks for joining me on our virtual wetland tour and water quality tests. I hope that you learned a thing or two and you enjoyed it. But stay tuned, as we have another virtual experience lined up for the Water Passport program. Finally, we had mentioned in video how wetlands can filter water. But have you ever wondered how humans clean their water? If so, click on the link provided to see an awesome virtual tour of Jones Island to learn how humans can clean and purify their wastewater.